Programming Assignment 1 for Andrew Smith and Brendan Smith. We will be demonstrating the HTTP client and server for our Battleship game. On the left we have the HTTP server, which takes the arguments of a port and a text board and prints out the initial representation of the board, as well as writing to the text file and then reprinting the text file whenever there's an update to the file. It is hosted on localhost and listening with the port that was given, in this case 8080. On the right we have our client. This client takes the arguments of an IP address, a port, and two coordinates, and will send a request to the server of the two coordinates as parameters. And we'll get a return of a response from the server depending on the behavior of the parameters once they reach the server. In this case, we hit, as the server checks its board and sees that for its player, 1-2 is the location of a ship, so thus it has been a hit. It will send a HTTP 200 OK response to the client, which will then update its own board and print out its board, which in this case shows that 1-2 is a hit. The server updates 1-2 as well to overwrite the C for carrier with an X, showing that it was hit. If we fire at a spot we have already fired at, you will get the already fired there with an HTTP 410 response. If we fire at a spot that does not exist on our board, such as 00, we will get a fired out of bounds with an HTTP 404 response. Now, I'm going to demonstrate what happens when you sink a ship. Excuse me for messing up my X and Y coordinates. When a ship is sunk and no more characters for that ship remain on the board, the server will send a response in addition to the you hit with you hit and you sunk a carrier. If it is a destroyer, it will be destroyer, etc. I'm now going to sink all ships on the board. In this case, we hit and sunk the battleship. I will now be sinking the submarine. The submarine has been sunk. I will now be sinking the cruiser. All these ships are demonstrated on the left-hand side. The cruiser has been sunk. I am now going to sink the destroyer. We hit. Now perform the last hit of the game onto the destroyer. Perform one more hit, and we have sunk all the ships and we win. Should be one's final note is that the board for the client is saved as opponent's board, and the client does require that text file in order to run correctly. This has been Programming Assignment 1 for Andrew Smith and Brendan Smith.